We'll get it started, but you can still join in on the top. This is code 515900. Joinmyquiz.com. Which result occurs when federal government expenditures are greater than total government tax receipts? Federal budget deficit, yes. That's when spending is greater than taxes. What occurred between 2007 and 2008? Deflation, yes. What occurred between June and July 2016? Deflation, so yeah, negative inflation is deflation. The general rise in overall prices is called inflation, correct. What is the size of the labor force? Unemployed looking for a job, 200, retired 5, prison 2, full-time not looking for the job, 10, employed, 180, unemployed not looking for a job, 20. So the answer is not on here. The answer should be employed plus unemployed. It should be 380. So labor force equals unemployed, looking for work plus employed. So it should be 200 plus 180 equals 380. That should be it. For some reason it's not on this, but that should be the answer. For that, during a recession, which the following things would occur? That increases the unemployment rate. Which of the following be counted as investment in calculating gross domestic product? So it would be when they say investment for GDP, it relates to anything physical. So I would say that construction of a new house and construction of roads both would be investment. So it's construction of like real, like physical things, that's investment in GDP. It's not trading stocks for investment in GDP. That's not classified as investment in GDP. It's just basically building physical things. So which of the following purchases is included in the calculation of gross domestic product? So good job. So new harvesting equipment for the farm. So it would be anything that's physical. This would be a physical investment. So that would be classified as purchase. Value of exports of goods and services minus the value of imports of goods and services. So that'd be classified net exports. So that'd be under net exports of goods and services. So exports minus imports is net exports. Items that firms in the United States produce and sell to the rest of the world. What is that called? Exports of goods and services. Value of final goods and services produced in a given year, expressed in terms of the prices in a reference base. So that's called real GDP when you adjust it for prices. So they adjust for prices. It's basically showing using the prices of 1 year and determining what the change in growth is for the economy. So it adjusts for prices, so inflation is taken out. Purchase of new capital goods, tools, and instruments, buildings, and that'd be classified under investment. Yes, investment. Market value of all the final goods and services produced within a country in a given time period. Not adjusted for prices. Not adjusted for prices. So I'd accept gross domestic product and nominal GDP. So both would be correct if this was a test, both of these would be correct. If the consumer price index were 131 a year end 1999 and 125 a year end 1988, inflation during 1999 was so 4.8%. So how to do this is I'll put this in the chat. So you do 131 minus 125 divided by 125 times 100%. So that's how you do that. Which of the following will most likely occur during the expansionary phase of the business cycle? Real GDP rises and employment falls. Hold on. Graphical representation of unemployment on the horizontal axis and inflation on the vertical axis is known as so we call it the Phillips curve. So it shows that higher inflation in the short run is correlated with lower unemployment. So they have a negative relationship in the short run. In the long run, there's no clear relationship. But in the short run, there is a negative relationship between inflation and unemployment. Which of the following people will be considered structurally unemployed? So it would be displacement due to technology. So unemployed assembly line factory worker was replaced with a robot. It's displacement, so losing your job based on technology, that's structural. Who is most likely to be hurt by inflation? So retirement and fixed income, correct, because they only have a certain amount of money to spend and they can't make any more. Each individual on food stamps in Delaware can receive up to $194 a month. Is this including government spending? So I would say it would be part of government spending. So I would include it part of government spending. I would say you're right. It is, so transfer payments would be included under government spending. So it is a transfer payment, but that would be included in government spending, so you're correct, so well done. So. Get this one here. What type of GDP is calculated with the current year's prices? So it'd be nominal GDP. Because you use prices for each year. So use the prices for each year. If supply and demand curves intersect at a price of $20, then any price above that will result in surplus. Well done. There's an increase in supply. This will cause the equilibrium price to widen and the equivalent quantity to. So there's an increase in supply. This will cause the equivalent price to decrease and the equivalent quantity to increase. So I'll demonstrate here. I'll draw it out. So we draw this out here. So there's an increase in supply. Supply will shift down. So that would be a lower price, higher quality. Yeah, so that's how you would do that there. And then I'll post this in the chat as well. Workers agreed to a 10% wage increase. Everything else remaining constant. This will cause the what curve to shift what. Supply curve will shift left. So how this will work, I'll demonstrate here. So again, so because workers will cost more, there'll be less supply. So they can produce less because workers cost more. So price will go up, quantity goes down. Yes, that's what would happen because input prices go up. So that's how that would work there. Oil is this type of scarce resource. Land natural, well done. Excellent job, Samir. Great job, Abby. Great job, Kala. Great job, Nicole. Great job, Tareem. So well done on that. So that was great. Now let's try this. Let's do a match game here. So to try matching these together. So what matches can you see here? Nichols is efficiency and economy is getting out. All of it out from the resources you can have. Okay. So efficiency, correct. Well done, Nicole. And then Abby's is top right and top left. Yes, so good job. Good job, Abby Nicole there. So any other matches? Number statement and bottom right column. Well done. Good. Any other matches? It says ability and absolute advantage. Okay. Well done. Any other matches? Marginal change in the opposite. Nicole says. Yes, well done. Any other matches? Obviously, Nicalis is okay. Well done. So well done on that. So now what we'll do is we'll do this as a group here. So I'll make teams here. So we'll be Abby here, I'm here, and then also Nicole, Samir, Tariq. So name the three factors of macroeconomics. President, GDP, inflation, fiscal policy. So give that to Cal. Good job. What are the four things needed to be considered unemployed? Nicole says able to work without a job. Yeah, so I'll give you that. So you gotta be actively looking for work, able to work, working age and unemployed. Name the four types of unemployment. Most is frictional, frictional, cyclical, institutional. So yeah, so yeah, well done. I'll give you that point. Seasonal is another one. It's when you're laid off for seasons. Landscapers can work during the summer, fall, and spring, but they can't work in the winter, so it'd be seasonal. Name three types of inflation. Heavy and smear, demand pull, cost push built in, cost push, demand pull, and regular. Yeah, so well done here. That's great. I'll give you both points for that. What are three things that cause cost push inflation? Obviously, it's rising wages, raw material costs, or supply chains, increased wages, supply shocks. So Nicole, rising prices, wages, reduce supply shocks. Kala, Abigail, and Nicole here. So yeah, those are all good responses. So land rents, workers demanding more money, supply prices increase. What measurement represents the standard of living? So Abigail says GDP per capita. Well done. Yeah. So GDP per capita is the best measure. What component of the GDP makes up most US GDP? So it goes to exports. So it's actually consumption. Exports are a big part of it, but it is consumption. But good try. Name one thing that is damaged by high inflation rates and why. So purchasing power, Abby says, says purchasing power because it takes more money to buy things, correct. So savings, purchasing power, all that would be correct. Well done. From this list, sort out what is or not is not part of the GDP. Parents sell your child at home, getting one from Italy, selling a dresser on Facebook Marketplace, buying weapons for the army, getting a tire fixed, our carpenters buying wood to make a chair that's going to be later sold. What would be part of GDP? Selling a dresser is not correct. So I'll tell you which ones would count. A carpenter buying wood to make a chair that's going to be later sold. This would be an intermediate good. So intermediate goods are used to build other goods, so they wouldn't be included in GDP. It would be the final good that's included. Getting a tire fixed would be part of GDP. Part of GDP because fix is a final good. Buying weapons for the army would be a final good. So that'll be included. Final good included. GDP. So it would have to be the Facebook marketplace wouldn't be included. Wouldn't be included because it was produced in another year. So I included it because it would be already produced when the house was built. Getting wine from Italy would be included as an import. Yeah, so that's how you would do that. So yeah, so I'll give Nicole and Abby points for that. Name one way the government helped the economy recover after the 2007-2009 recession. Abby says interest rate cuts, correct. So government spending increases, interest rate cuts, bailouts of banks, so giving them loans that would help them get through the crisis, interest rate cuts, yeah. What does GDP stand for? Nicole and Samir and Tareem say growth through gross domestic product. Good job. Nicole, Samir, Tareem, well done. Label of the business cycle. So what happens in the business cycle? Scale says expansion peak, trough contraction. Goal says expansion compression. So I'll give you both those. Good job. What is happening to unemployment rates when GDP is decreasing and why? Goal says unemployment rates are increasing because less work and production is decreasing. Well done. What was unique about the United States inflation rate in the last couple of years? So it has reached extreme heights lately. What was the name of the act in place after the 2007 to 2009 recession to help prevent something similar from happening ever again? So feel free to use Google or any other tool to try to figure this out. So Nicole says Dodd-Frank Wall Street Reform and Consumer Protection Act. Emergency Economic Stabilization Act, Samir says. Abigail says Dodd-Frank Wall Street Reform and Consumer Protection Act. Correct. Yes, they rolled that out to stabilize the economy and protect it from a lot of these issues in the future. Dodd-Frank Act. Yeah. So name the four components of GDP. Causes consumption, investment, government spending, and exports. Samir says the same. Abigail says the same. Well done. That's correct. Samir, Kala, and Abby. Well done. How is real and nominal GDP different? So real is just for inflation. Excellent. Good job, Nicole. What are the three countries that suffered high inflation rates over a short period of time? So hyperinflation. What are three countries you can name that faced hyperinflation? It says South Sudan, Syria, Argentina. Those are good examples. Yeah, so all those countries did, as well as Hungary, Zimbabwe, and Germany. So all of the above suffered hyperinflation. In a recession, what are the actions / expectations of humans that can damage the economy further? overspending into debt. Yeah, that's definitely something that can happen. Abby says halting all consumption, yeah, both would be big problems. Yes. So yeah, well done. So describe three things that caused the 2007, 2009 recession. Low interest rates, Nicole says yes, that was part of it. Abby says low spending. So here it would be mortgage lending, yeah, so too much mortgage lending was the main thing. But all these factors were issues that happened. Carla, Abby, Nicole, it's, so those were all issues that led to the recession. Yeah, the mortgage market collapsed because they were lending to people that couldn't pay their mortgage payments. That became a big problem. So they were lending to people that didn't have enough income to pay their mortgage payments. So if you want to get an accurate representation of the country's production, what GDP number do you look at? So Abigail says real GDP. Yes, well done. How and why did the country recover from the Great Depression in 1929? Abby says job creation. Yes, job creation was part of it. Government spending during World War II was part of it as well. What is considered an intermediate good? So Abby said not yet a final product but an input. Causes produce goods. Nicole says something purchased for an input into production of other goods. So Nicole, Kala, Abby. Describe how COVID has caused a change in the three topics of macroeconomics. So Abby says low GDP, unemployment, high inflation. Kala says GDP declined, inflation increased. Yeah. COVID caused instability and surges such declines in employment. Nicole, Kala, Abby, good points. Well done. So Abby was the winner, but excellent job, Nicole. Great work, Kala, Samira, great effort, Tareem. So good job on. We'll answer these questions as a group. So if the Bank of Canada increases the interest rate, this will likely reduce inflationary pressures. True or false? So it would be true because higher interest rates will likely bring down inflation because it's harder to borrow money. So movement along the Phillips curve shows a relationship between what? Yes, Nicole says inflation, unemployment. So B, yeah. So yeah, B, correct. The opportunity cost of holding money increases when so this is B. Yes, interest rate rises. A budget surplus occurs when government spending exceeds revenue shortfalls. False, correct. Which of the following will cause a leftward shift in the demand curve for Canadian dollars? So it would actually be B, because lower interest rates make Canadian financial assets less desirable, reducing demand for Canadian dollars. So which of the following would most likely cause a movement along the aggregate demand curve rather than a shift? Yes, Samir, it's a change in price level. So movement along an aggregate, well done, Abby. Movement along the aggregate demand curve is caused by change in the price level, where shifts are caused by changes in other factors. Well done. So question 7, if actual real GDP is below potential GDP, the economy is experiencing what? Yes, Abby, good job. So, or recessionary gap. A decrease in taxes with everything else held constant will most likely what? Abby says, yeah, shift the aggregate demand curve to the right. Well done. And then an increase in productivity will what? So Abby says, C, yes, shift the longer and aggregate supply curve rightward. Yes, you can produce more long term. And then which of the following would increase the demand for loanable funds? So this is B, it's actually an increase in expected future profits. Because if businesses expect higher future profits, they are more likely to invest, increasing the demand for loanable funds. And then for this one here, if nominal GDP increases and the velocity of money is constant, what must have happened? Yes, the money supply increase. Yep. A rise in expected future inflation would likely what? So would increase the nominal interest rate because nominal interest rate equals real interest rate plus inflation. So higher inflation would lead to higher nominal interest rate. Which of the following is not included in the calculation of GDP? Yes, so well done, Nicole. A used car sold in dealership wouldn't be included because GDP only includes new goods and services. Used goods are not counted to avoid double counting. So crowding out occurs when yes, so obviously is correct. So B. So government borrowing raises interest rates, thereby discouraging investment because it is harder to borrow to invest now due to the higher interest rate paid by borrowers. Which of the following statements about automatic stabilizers is true? So it would be D. I would also accept C. I would say Abby's right about that as well, because it does reduce the need for fiscal policy because it automatically kicks in. So I would say C and D are correct because automatic stabilizers are built-in features of the fiscal system that stabilize economic fluctuations without new government action. So unemployment insurance activates when people are out of work and gives them money to spend on necessities. And then progressive taxes activate best when people make less money. They have less to pay in taxes and more to spend and save. So there are automatic things that kick in to support people. So I would agree with Abby, they reduce the need for fiscal policy because they provide a lot of support already. You still need fiscal policy, but not as much as before because these kick in. So well done. That was really good.